Okay, so what we're going to do in this video is take a look at airbrushing our photographs, and actually not necessarily airbrushing, but just fixing our photos. And what we find when we start working with Photoshop is all those magazines that we see as we check out in the supermarket aisles are all photoshopped. So here goes. So I begin with this image, and we can see that, we have um, lots of blemishes on the face. So here goes. How do we go about getting rid of these? Well, again, your best results are going to be with images that are large, okay? So I come to image and I come to image size, and I can see that in this image I have 4,000 by 3,000 pixels. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the more pixels that we have, the more we can do when we go about manipulating the image before us. So it just gives us more options. When you have a low resolution image, you'll find that it's not as easy, actually, because you don't have as many pixels to work with. So here goes. Let's get going and see what we can do to fix up this photograph. All right, so we come over to our tool panel, and the tools that I want to have open right now are my layers, of course, my tools right in here, and I also want to open up my history. Now you'll see that I have all these different things in my history because I was working on this a little bit, but my history is an important place to be because I can go back. Okay. Now, and if you ever are working in your history and you get to a point where you like it, you can always take a snapshot of it, and then that is actually saved. Now, one thing to note about your history is that your history is not saved with your document. Your history, so if I was to work on this and save it and then want to go back into my history, it's not saved to the document. Again, Photoshop is a very memory intensive program, so it doesn't do it. You'll find your Photoshop files get very large. Okay, so here goes. So we come on over to our tools panel, and we have these different tools under here, the spot healing brush tool and the healing brush tool. These are the two that we're going to work with today. Now, this is how the spot healing brush tool works. And again, what we're going to find as we work with fixing up photographs is that a lot of your results are very subtle. So your best bet is to continue to look and really you make those changes subtle, and then it's at the end, it's the overall change that makes the difference. Or before we go do anything, I want to create a duplicate layer. So first thing I want to do, if I open a file directly into Photoshop, it's locked, so I want to unlock my layer, and I want to come up to my layer, and I want to come to duplicate layer, and I will say okay, great. Now, I want to have this copy layer underneath so I can keep clicking and seeing actually what it looks like. Okay, so I come on over to the spot healing brush tool, and what I'm going to find here is as I click this that I can up the size of this, and I can lower the hardness of this. And I would say for the work that you're going to do with touching up faces, you really most times want to have a hardness of 0. So what happens then is the edges are more feathered, and it won't have this drastic feel on the skin. Okay, so I'm going to up my pixels a little bit more to I want to surround this blemish right here, and then I can click, and voila, it has sort of gone away a bit. Let's actually look at the history to see where it is, and I can see as I click onto here and back that it's gone. Now there still are some different things with this skin, but let's actually just take a look at a couple others. So if I was to come over here, I could click right here, I could click right here. Okay, but you can see that with this skin right in here, and this is more teenage skin, it actually needs quite a bit of work. So now what else you can do with this tool is you can come and kind of click over top of it like that, and we can see that that kind of took it away. Now, not really wild about how that looks though. It kind of has this strange textury feeling to it. So I would actually just come over it like that and get rid of that a different way. Okay, now, and let's take a look at what way that we could do that. So this way that the spot healing brush tool works is you just come and you click over an area, And then what it actually does is it samples the pixels on the outside edge of that circle, and then in the inside it creates this combination of those pixels. Okay, let's take a look at it. And it works perfectly if there's like one little blemish, especially surrounded by a clear area of skin. Let's take a look at another tool. And we want to look at the healing brush tool. Now the healing brush tool works a little bit differently. The healing brush tool works more like the clone tool. Because what you have to do is you need to actually sample pixels from a different area and then come in and combine them. So let's say that I have this area in here, and if I look, this area of skin has a lot of acne. So if I come over into here, I can sample from some of these pixels over towards the hair and then combine them with this. Now this is how I do that. I hold down Alt or Option. I get this little, like I'm looking through a target, and then I can click here. Okay, I just sampled my pixels from there. I can even up my brush size. I'm going to up my brush size a little bit. Up it a little bit more. Again, keep your hardness down to 0. And now I can come in and I can see actually that it's sampling from here, and I can click. Now, if maybe you don't see it on my computer screen, but over towards the right of this, you can see there's like this cross line, and it's sampling the pixels from over there. Okay, now what it does is it actually combines the pixels from over there with the pixels that are right. It's a combination of those pixels. So if I come back, I can see that that actually got rid of that pretty nicely. Okay, so again, let's do it one more time, and I'm going to explain to you one more time what it actually is doing. So I'm going to come up here. I want to sample these pixels from the left side of her forehead as I look at her, and try to get rid of some of this acne that's right here. So again, I take my, I'm going to go a little bit bigger. All right, so I'm going to maybe even a little bit bigger. All right, so I'm going to come right into here. I need to hold down Option or Alt. I need to click. What I'm doing is I'm saying to Photoshop, okay, I want you to sample those pixels right there. And then I'm going to come over in here and combine it to try to get rid of some of those blemishes. Now again, what you might have to do quite a bit is come back in and load your pixels. Okay. Now sometimes you're not gonna be totally wild about how that works out, but that's the story with that one. Now, really the best thing that I would want to do for this photograph, and actually we can turn this layer on, we can see these different areas. So if we focus in on this area right here, we turn this off, we can see what happened. We focus in on this area down in here, we turn this off, we can see what happened. Now, for an image like this, our best bet is we want to apply some kind of filter and kind of blur out the skin pixels to get that more airbrushed, perfect kind of feel. So what we're going to do right now, and then we're going to create a layer mask. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to come to Filter, and you could do a couple ones. You could do a Gaussian blur. Okay, Gaussian blur works really nicely here. But what I'm going to do here is a smart blur. Okay, and I have this all set, and I can zoom it on in. And again, this is going to really be dependent upon your image. And why not, right? Let's actually, and my computer is doing something. Okay, let's up that a little bit more. I'm going to up it up to about 12. I'm going to hit OK. And it's doing its blurring, blurring, blurring. Now, of course, to really finish this photograph too, I would definitely whiten the teeth. And we'll end with that. Okay, so here we have this. Now we can see that this image is blurred. Okay, so I can turn this off and on. But the one thing that we like is that it actually has really gotten rid of most of these blemishes on the skin. So what we want to do now is, but what also happens is, a lot of the detail gets this really strange blurred look to it, which we don't want to have. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take away some of this filter and leave some of it there. So in order to do that, we are going to apply a layer mask. And this is how a layer mask works. I'm going to show you actually. First thing, let's add the layer mask. So we come to the bottom of our layers panel and we're going to click add a layer mask. Okay, now this is how the layer mask works, and probably if you've been following along with my videos, you may have, or any videos for that matter, you may have learned a bit about quick masks. So if you've done quick masks before, it works very similarly. But if you haven't, no problem at all. I'm going to show you how this all works. So when we create a mask, what happens is I just put a mask over this entire layer. And what we can do now is we have the option of revealing and hiding certain parts of this layer. Now you might think, well, why don't I just use the eraser tool? And in another video I have with creating an airbrush photo with a Gaussian blur, I use the eraser. Now the layer mask is even a better tool because what's great is you can add and take away. You can add to you can take parts of it away, you can add parts of it in. Okay, so we start with black up at the top, and when black's up on the top here, I am going to be taking away some of this layer. So that's what I want to do. I want to come to my brush and I'm going to just start coming in and saying, you know what, I want to have the proper hair because this hair looks, like it's not normal. And again, as I start, you can see if I focus it right in here that this is starting to make a little bit more sense. All right, we can come back to that. Now again, a lot of times in Photoshop too, you're going to find yourself, I can't tell you how many times I have found myself in Photoshop, working this close in. Well, actually this is the perfect time now to come on into her nose. I have black up on the top and I want to take this, I want this to look normal, right? This just looks kind of crazy. And I'm only in at 200%. Okay, it's one thing when you're in like, really, really close, but so I'm going to come down a little bit. I'm going to come down smaller actually. I'm going to come down to about this many pixels in here. And I just want to get this detail back. So if I have black up on the top, what we can see is we can start, erasing this. To get this information back, and we zoom in, okay, and we can see that, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? Again, I can turn this layer on and off. So I can see I'm starting to see the detail of her nose, but I still want to keep that blurred look to her skin. So I'm going to keep working on this a little bit more. You can see, you could spend quite a bit of time. Now, what I just did right here with the nose, and I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to go back a little bit. I just worked with this, and the hardness was at 100%. Again, let's zoom back in. I want to show you. We want to keep that hardness down because what happens then is it won't have that sharp of an edge. Now again, we're zoomed in so we can see these pixels and we can see the difference between these pixels and the blurred ones. So what we want to do is just reveal and get a realistic look to the structure of her face. I'm going to up this a little bit. Again, I want to keep my hardness down and I want to get her lips and her teeth. I want to get the eyes for certain. Now what we can see is that as we look over into this layer, we can see the different things that are starting to happen. I want to get this structure in here. What I'm doing is I'm leaving out the areas where there was acne. So it has more of this brushed kind of feel. Okay. So again, I can turn this layer on and off, on and off. I come back in and even get some more of this detail over here. Now let's say that I just did something and I say, oh, I don't like what I just did. Something isn't right. But the areas that I'm really concerned about is I want her eyes to look realistic. I want her lips to look realistic and not look like a blurred out picture. All right, again. Okay, so I think we're starting to get the idea here. But let's say like, oh, all of a sudden I just did that. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. Well, the beauty of working with a layer mask is then you can come and put white up on top. And when you put the white up on top, you can take away, you can put your mask back on. Um, so that's the story. That is the story. Now, I would come on over to her. I want to put black up on top. And again, same thing. I want to start revealing this realistically because I don't want it to look like a blurry picture. All I want to do is give this skin that perfect kind of feel, which we know no skin is perfect. All right, so I think probably you're starting to begin to see what you can do, all of the possibilities within this. There's lots and lots of possibilities. Again, I want to come in, I want to get the structure of her nose back, this line in here, her teeth. Again, I absolutely recommend, and let me turn this on and off again. As we can see, the things that we really want to hide are the areas where there are the blemishes on the skin. And what's great, you know, is we can come back in and turn things back on and off. So what I want to do real quickly is just really whiten up these teeth. We could come down in here then and really, you know, just get rid of this area because, you know, the arms are perfectly fine. All right, so let's start to look here. So we can see that that is what we've begun to do. Okay, so let's say that, you know, I get this where I want it to be, and now I want to come about and start doing some different things to this, like whitening the teeth. Well, your best bet is to, before you start doing that, because of this mask, once you're sure that you're done with this, is if you want to add some other things, because this layer will just stay in the mask. Your best bet is to flatten your image and then start working. Now, at the very end of working with your images too, you really do want to flatten them because the size, they're very, very big. Like you can see right now, you know, this is over 34 megabytes. And once I flatten it, it becomes much smaller, and then saving it as a JPEG makes it smaller too. So what I would do is I would come to my layer and I could come to flatten image. Now, this makes this one locked. I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to come on in here real quickly and whiten these teeth. Now, I've already made a selection of sorts. So again, we can just come on in, we make our selection. Oh, okay, and the selection is not there anymore, which is fine. You see, we could really take our time too. Again, we could go into quick mask mode. This is different than creating this is different though than creating that layer mask. Okay, with the black up on the top, I grab my brush, same thing, I set the pixel size of my brush. Now again, yours will really depend on what it is, and I have black up on the top. I want to add to my selection. So let's see, black up on top. Oh, I'm wondering why nothing's going on. I have my opacity set down to there, and I have my flow set to 41%. All right, so I'm just going to add to this. Now I would totally recommend, you know, really take your time, get this to look really, really nice. And I can click, I can see my selection. If I really wanted to take my time too, I would zoom it on in and get these gums Okay, again, I would come on back to here. I would lower down the size of my brush. I would, even for this one now, I would up the hardness. I would start coming in and selecting these different areas within the gums. If I click on this, I can see what's happening to my selection. And again, you know, you could spend a lot of time here. I've had times in Photoshop where I've been working and I'm zoomed in so much that I'm just differentiating between, you know, pink and white pixels. Now, something like this too, you might even find that you want to change this color because we have blue might work better. And the reason why I would say that is because like if I want to differentiate, say, oh, I want to differentiate between these pink pixels and these white pixels. So you might actually find that your better bet is to have blue because the pink is the same color as the whiteness of the teeth. So I could come in then and, you know, even choose this a little bit better. So again, you can change the color of your mask very, very easily, and we can come in and get really exact, I mean, down to the pixel selection. So if I click this right in here, okay, again. All right, so let's actually just whiten these teeth and see what we have. Up, and I can even come in here and say, oh, you know what? I want to get this. I don't want that. This is gums too. Okay, so we'll just let this be good enough. We can come on in. There's a couple different things we could do. We can come to image adjustments. We can work with the brightness and the contrast. We might brighten these up a little bit. Okay, we might feel like, oh, you know, they're still kind of yellowy though. So we hit OK. We come again, image adjustments. We can come to hue and saturation. We can come on up to here. We can lighten them a little bit. Okay, maybe that's working a little bit better. Now what I should have done before I started this was actually duplicate my layer. So then we could see what it looks like. But if we go back into here, we can see that that is what it was looking like. So I think they actually look much better. And again, we want it to be subtle. We don't want it to be so crazy that it looks like it's not real. All right, so I can come on in and do the same, whiten these teeth up. Now, if I wanted to also, once my image is flattened, I can come on in and even continue to work with my spot healing brush and my healing brush tool. So if there still are some areas that feel a little bit rough, I can do that too. I'll leave you with that. Thanks for listening.